oil on the Sportster, but first, you gotta get it hot. Now that the engine's hot, let's change some oil. It's not to question anybody's intelligence. I'm sure there's probably gonna be a few people watching this video that are watching it because they've never done it before. So, that being said, I'm gonna go over a couple basic things. Starting off with, why did we get the engine hot? Well, we got it hot, warm up all the oils in there, so that way when we drain it, it just drains a lot better. Oil flows a lot better when it's hot, simply put. So, a little bit of component ID here, a little bit of stumbling on my words. A little bit of component ID. Here is your oil filter. I'm running a K&N oil filter on mine. And then, so Harleys have a primary, which houses the transmission and the primary chain and your clutch and whatnot. And its lubrication system is completely separate from the oil that feeds the rest of the engine. So, that being said, this is your primary here, right? Your clutch is inside there and whatnot, your primary chain. This is the fill port for your primary case. That being said, this right, where are we at? Where's my finger? Right here is your drain for your primary. Now, don't mistake it for this, because this is how you actually tension your primary chain. So, don't touch for oil servicing. This is your drain here. Alright? So we'll move back here. This hose that goes into here is actually your drain for your main oil tank. Right? You just pull off that hose clamp, and then there's like a nipple boss that's mounted to the frame here that it just goes over. So that tank is, come around to this side. This is your main oil tank here, right? This is the oil tank that feeds the rest of the engine outside of the primary. So your primary and this, two separate systems, right? Fill port there for the main, fill port here for the primary, right? Drain for primary case, drain for the oil tank. Alright, now we've got that out of the way. So this is pretty much the items you're going to need. Obviously ratchet, the screwdriver I got for the hose clamp for draining the oil, and then this is a size 4, and it is for the primary fill port. And then you need a size 16 and a 17. But the 17 is just for the K&N style filters. Obviously, if you don't have that style filter, you don't need it. 16 goes for your primary case drain. This is the part number for the K&N filter if you choose to use it. Now, I currently have the chrome style K&N filter on there, but they were out of them at the store, so I just went with the black, which is kind of weird. The black is actually more expensive than the chrome. I think the chrome is about 14 bucks and the black one's like 18, so they're pretty high priced, but I guess they're decent, and that's all they stock at the place where I go. So other than that, so because your primary houses transmission, your clutch and whatnot, I try to use pretty good oil in it. Now for the whole oil system, what they're going to recommend is 2050, and you know, you want to make sure. It's so damn hot out here, my camera overheated. I had to go grab a fan. But anyways, what I was getting at is I try to run pretty decent motor, I try to run pretty decent oil in the primary because it houses my clutch and transmission, but you want to make sure it says wet clutch on it in some facet or another. Wet clutch protection, use with wet clutch, something along the lines of that. So another good one, actually better than this, is the Mobile 1V Twin. That's really good stuff, but you run that and you're gonna end up with a $60 oil change on it. Anyway, so I use the 2050 in the primary, it takes 1 quart to fill it. And I just use this cheap Rotelli 1540 in the tank, which I'll show you later. And the reason I do that is because I change the tank oil more often than the primary. And that stuff's cheap, and I'm gonna, you know, I run through it so quick. This bike kind of burns a little bit, so I run just a little bit cheaper. And the 1540 does just fine in it. So anyways, that's a cheaper alternative. You can run 2050 in it all the way around, but this Valvoline is about $7 a quart, and the Mobil 1V Twin is $11 to $12 a quart, depending on where you get it. Whereas you can get this on sale for, you know, $15 for a gallon. So I run the good shit in primary, and then just fill the oil tank with that over there. But anyways, I'm gonna start draining this, and we'll get to it. So I've already undid the hose clamp on this drain line, and the good thing about the location of the drain line and your drain bolt is they're relatively close enough that you can put the drip pan on both of them. So like I said, that just pulls off, and there is, let me make sure it's not gonna leak anywhere. Right there, let's get to zoom in. There's just that little nipple that the hose slides right over, and it's just right there on the side of the frame, and that's where your oil line goes to, like I said earlier. Anyways, this line, like I said, drains your oil tank, which is up on the opposite side of the bike. So while I've got that draining, I like to go ahead and pop this cap up, just because it lets it flow a little better drain on it. It doesn't create like a suction. And then while that's draining, I can also go ahead and drain the primary. Oh, it's kind of weird doing it with one hand. I think I ran into this problem last time. Pull this little rubber piece off. Make it easier to get to. Yeah, so anyways, I just pulled that rubber piece off just so I'd get a little bit more room on the head of my ratchet to fit in there. Alright, there we go. Man, this is extremely weird doing one-handed. Alright, so your primary case, there it goes, it doesn't have a filter for it because the primary case, like I said, is separate, and it is a sealed case. There's no filter. Wow, that oil looks pretty dirty. So that being said, the drain plug actually has a magnet on it, and this is pretty normal. You're gonna get shavings like this from your clutch being in there. And so rather than having a filter for your primary, like I said, this magnet is supposed to get all the debris from that clutch. So make sure you clean that off when you're draining it. For those finished dripping, I'll go ahead and pull off the fill port. And like I said, it's just a 4 for the size, and these shouldn't be overly tight. You know, you don't want to risk stripping out these bolts. Plus there's an O-ring on the back side of it that's meant to seal, and if you flatten that out, it kind of defeats the purpose anyways. So I don't remember the exact spec on it, but it's somewhere stupid. It's like 24 inch-pounds or something like that, maybe. I don't know, I could have made that number up, but I know it's light. Just don't over tighten it. You know, it's not necessary. Just like so. And if you notice, one side's fatter than the other. Down here, that's fatter than up there. The fat side goes down for when you put it back on. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, so while you're in here, if you look, maybe you can see right there, that's your primary chain. So that's where you, oh wow, that's got quite a bit of play in it. So yeah, you can put your finger on it and check for deflection. And like I said, this bolt right here is actually how you tension that. So mine's actually got a little bit more slop in it than what I want. I am going to go ahead and tension that, I won't do it on this video. Maybe I'll make another video for that. But this is a good time while you're changing oil to check that out. So, I got the chain adjusted. That is a lot better than what it was. Like I said, maybe I'll show you that again in another video. But moving forward, the oil change, those are pretty well done dripping. You know, a good idea to kind of turn down that hose to make sure you got everything out of there. But I'm gonna go ahead, put the hose back on, put the drain nut back in. That way I can move my oil pan up here to pull off the filter. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and then I'll get back with you. I've got the drain line in and the plug for the primary back on. Moved the catch pan up here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this filter off. And one of the main reasons why I like these K&N filters is because you can take them off with a wrench. And really that's about it. I don't care about the name or what they swear better performance it gets. Really, it's just the ease of getting this motherfucker off there. All that other stuff is just hocus pocus. So while that's dripping, I'm gonna go ahead and fill the primary. And like I said, it just takes the 1 quart of this 2050. So I've already got the drain plug in. When you're putting in the drain plug, just snug it. Don't over tighten it. Fuck the threads up on it or in the case itself. Just needs to be snug. Before putting your filter back on, make sure you clean up the mating surface real good. Any obstructions or debris or anything on it can cause your oil filter to leak. You don't want oil running down the front of your bike. It's a pain in the ass. So one thing to do before you put your filter on is I get some of the old fluid and I just kind of moisten up the seal, help the seal a little better. And then you take a little bit of the new oil and just dump just a little bit in there to fill it up before sticking it back on there. And just like with the drain plugs, it doesn't need to be ungodly tight. You know, I just put it on there and snug it. Hell, you can go hand tight. Right there would be about good. Alright, drains are plugged, filter's on, got the quart in the primary. Now I just need to put the cover on. And like I said, when you're looking at it, the thick side goes down. And just like everything else on here, you don't want to over tighten it and smush that O-ring. I'll put this camera down so I can use 2 hands on it. And last but not least is to fill up the oil tank. So your dipstick here, you've got 2 hash marks. Hot and cold, I presume, but get your oil, I think it's about 3 quarts to just over here, and it'll be good. But anywhere between these 2 lines, as long as you're not overflowing out of the side of that, it's gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna fill it up with oil and I'll start it, run it, let the oil circulate through, and then recheck the oil. And obviously go down on the bottom and make sure you're not leaking or spraying oil anywhere. Alright, now that you got oil in the tank, go ahead and crank the bike. Now when you first crank it, you're gonna get your oil light. So just keep cranking essentially until that oil light goes away. You know, granted, as long as you have oil in the tank, obviously. So it'll go away here soon. Right there. Alright, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to go ahead and shut it off real quick. But essentially what you do is after you got all your fluids full, you crank it until the oil light goes away, obviously. And then I generally double check my oil, make sure it's good, and then I'd go and run the bike for a few minutes and then recheck the oil again. And then go around front, make sure your filter's not leaking, make sure you got your drain plugs tight, they're not leaking. But I'm sorry if it seems like I'm cutting this video short. It's just 100 degrees outside right now and the battery on my camera is getting toasted. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this one a little abruptly, but essentially that's what it is. Primary, main oil tank, 1 quart down here, 3-ish quarts over there. Run it, let it cycle through, make sure you're not leaking, call it good. Wash your bike when you're done, make it look pretty. Alright, thanks for checking me out. Have a good one.